So, despite the relative youth of this channel, I've been doing work around YouTube for almost a decade now. Between 2015 and 2017, I partnered with the Game Theorists to create a documentary series called Breakdown. Most of those episodes haven't really found a home since then, either because of their lackluster quality or just not really fitting with anything. But I decided that they would make a good fit for this channel. So what you're about to watch is a remastered version of one of those videos. The audio quality and presentation style is going to be different than what is normally uploaded here, but the information is accurate, and I am proud of the work done on it for my skill level at the time. If you enjoy this, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more. I'd love to do more development documentaries and real-life lore like this. Alright, so enjoy. A timeless brand is priceless. There isn't a corporation on this planet that would not kill for a series that could live for a decade or two or three, ever present in the eyes of the media and in the hearts of its fans. In gaming, Pokemon is the stalwart example of this, still thriving amongst the fan base it cultivated in the 90s when it changed the world, all while plucking up new enthusiasts year after year. Still, with all of the games it's sold, all of the movies it's made, and all the merchandise it's sold, no one expected Pokemon to be the brand that revolutionized gaming again. Back in 2001, John Hanke founded a company known as Keyhole Incorporated, which began developing a three-dimensional Earth viewing software. Keyhole and its product would later be acquired by Google, and their Earth viewer evolved into what we now know as Google Earth. Hanke spent several years at Google working in the company's Geo division, helping to develop other projects like Google Maps and Street View. And eventually, in 2010, Hanke oversaw the creation of Niantic, an internal Google startup that would focus on the creation of augmented reality titles. Niantic's very first project was a massively multiplayer AR science fiction game called Ingress. This title was unique amongst other similar MMOs in that players did not have to directly interact with one another. Instead, the rivalry built into its systems was between two factions that players could join. These players, or agents as they were known in-game, did not play Ingress by attacking or harming the virtual avatars of others. Instead, Ingress was focused on more of a competition between the two factions. Spread throughout the real world were several points deemed portals. These were mostly at places of public significance like works of art, monuments, or other landmarks. Players would seek these portals out and claim them for their faction, gaining virtual control over real geographical areas. These portals had to be connected to one another to gain influence, and they would sometimes be a significant distance from one another, requiring complex coordination between Ingress's players. Ingress was released on Android in December of 2013, and on iOS in July of 2014. And though Niantic didn't know it at the time, it would become the base of their next huge project. Around the same time, Satoru Iwata, then president of Nintendo, and Tsunekazu Ishihara, the president and CEO of the Pokemon Company, were brainstorming a new idea. The pair thought it would be fun to announce a new mobile Pokemon game around April Fools, and reached out to Google to make their joke come to fruition. The three companies partnered to create a viral video announcing Google's Pokemon Challenge, a Google Maps-powered competition searching for a Pokemon Master to come work at Google. Funnily enough, the company ended up temporarily adding Pokemon to Google Maps during April Fools, allowing people to find them out in the real world. Those who discovered all 150 of the first generation's Pokemon were later rewarded with business cards from Google, labeling them Pokemon Masters. And in a twist of fate, the joke competition ended up becoming so successful that it led to serious conversations about a real project. Ishihara was a fan of Niantic and Ingress and thought it would be fun to incorporate ideas from the Pokemon Challenge into a similar title. In mid-2015, Nintendo, Google, and the Pokemon Company approached Niantic to develop an augmented reality game featuring Pokemon. Additionally, around this time, Google restructured into Alphabet Incorporated and spun Niantic off into its own company. As a show of support, Google, Nintendo, and the Pokemon Company invested roughly $30 million into the newly independent Niantic for the development of this project. Several talented developers from all three companies contributed to the new game. Longtime Pokemon designer and composer Junichi Masuda scored the music for the title. and Dennis Huang, the graphical artist behind the Gmail logo and several other seasonal variations of Google's main icon, worked on its visual design. Both Ishihara and Iwata were also heavily involved with the new title from its inception, even after Iwata was hospitalized due to complications from a cancerous tumor in his bile duct. Iwata unfortunately passed away in mid-2015, but spent many of his final moments in the hospital exchanging ideas about this new game with its other developers. And the final product that would be created has been described as part of Iwata's legacy. The fruit of all of their labor was a game titled Pokemon GO, a free-to-play game that drew quite heavily from both Ingress and the Pokemon Challenge. In this title, players create an avatar that moves alongside them in a geographical rendering of Earth. To move in the game, the player must literally move in the real world. Several Pokemon are scattered and hidden throughout the real world, and when they are discovered by the player, they must be captured using augmented reality technology. The app opens the player's phone camera and gyroscope, placing a Pokemon literally within their reach. Unlike other Pokemon games, these Pokemon do not have to be battled when encountered in order to be captured. Different types of Pokemon are found in logically consistent areas. As an example, water Pokemon are often found near rivers or large bodies of water. Additionally, the location of other Pokemon are often nods to where they were found in their original game, or their appearances in its anime adaptation. For instance, Clefairies are more frequently encountered in mountainous regions, similar to Mount Moon from the Kanto region. Like in Ingress, players are given the option to join one of 3 teams: Valor, Mystic, and Instinct. Several locations in the world are labeled either gyms that players can conquer and claim for their team, and Pokestops, where they can replenish their supplies and meet other players. Niantic crowdsourced information about popular locations for the gyms and Pokestops, placing them in frequent destinations from Ingress. Pokemon GO was released on the North American and Australian app stores on July 6, 2016, and throughout Europe, Japan, and other PAL regions through the rest of July. Hankey estimated that only 10% of the ideas Niantic wanted to include were implemented in the initial release of GO, and that many of these ideas and mechanics would be added to the title moving forward. And despite middle and critical reviews, to call Pokemon GO a cultural phenomenon would not be doing the game justice. The title quickly rose to the top of the iOS App Store's free downloads, and within 2 days of release it had been installed on more than 5% of all Android devices in the United States. By July 31st, 2016, Pokemon GO had been installed on more than 100 million devices worldwide. At its peak, its daily usage topped other incredibly popular apps, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Tinder. And as of August 2016, it was even on the verge of surpassing the usage of Google Maps. In the United States, it was literally the biggest mobile game ever to be released. This giant install base did more than generate revenue for Nintendo, Niantic, and the Pokemon Company. Its cultural impact has been nothing short of monumental. By congregating at local Pokestops, players have been able to connect with one another, forging new friendships and relationships because of this app. Some players have even been able to use Pokemon GO to assist law enforcement in the capture of criminals. Pokestops and gyms are commonly found at local businesses, museums, or places of worship, and have given unintentional bumps to their markets, exhibits, and communities. GO has become so popular that various public figures and politicians have even mentioned it, some noting its successes and hoping to cultivate similar innovation from their own countries. Pokemon GO recaptured a lot of what made Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green so special in the first place, both in the game's world and in our own. Sure, the excitement of the collection of Pokemon is very much a driving force of the game, but what's more important is the exploration of the world to find those Pokemon and the connection that you had to others on the same journey. 20 years ago, the world the players explored was contained within a cartridge, and the people they met, either their friends or their classmates. Today, the world is our own, and the people are anyone interested enough to pick up their phone and go outside. Very few titles actively encourage players to go, to meet other fans in the real world, and to work together towards a common tangible goal in friendly competition. People from all walks of life have been able to pick up Pokemon GO and find value in the community that has organically grown around it. For years, fans have been asking Nintendo for a Pokemon MMO so that they could play with other fans from around the world. And finally, Nintendo and Niantic have answered, giving players a game that they did not expect, but one that has had a real and genuine positive influence on the world. Hey, thanks for watching. I loved making these sort of documentary retrospectives, and would love to add them to the rotation of lore, explanation, Easter eggs, and cut content videos. If I end up doing that, what sort of documentaries would you like to see? And again, if you enjoyed this, please remember to like the video and subscribe so we may please the algorithm gods. At least that's what it feels like we're doing these days, doesn't it? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.